Hey guys, Beast here, and I want to talk to you about throttle locks. I have looked at every sort of option on the book, and in fact, this bike came with one to start. It didn't work at all. It was always in the way. I was worried about breaking it, and when I had crashes, I'd always have to double check and kind of reassemble part of the thumb control piece. Again, it was just a friction control, and so I started looking at better options. There's some really crazy options out here. There's ones that go at the end of the bar, but then you accidentally touch it when you're throttling on, throttling off. Part of the Kickstarter campaign, I was a part of that originally for the Atlas one. David and his wife had an amazing trip around the world, kind of a unique trip. They did it not like a lot of people do. Go check out their website, check out their blogs, things like that. Really cool story, but he decided on his KTM 640 that he really wanted something, and he wanted something that you could take on and off and put onto different bikes. It wasn't model specific necessarily, and we'll talk about that a little bit because there was a little bit of modifying to put this on to the KLR650, and this is a Gen 1. I also have it with Oxford heated grips, as you can see on here. You can see the groove fits perfectly. And we'll just jump right into installation. I'll show you some of the photos. I did have to grind down the flange. Well, I know it's not the prettiest, but essentially I removed this outside flange here. It was chewed up from a previous throttle thing in here. But took out the whole flange so that the stopper can actually put its little friction pad on your housing here. Before that, it didn't have enough clearance to clear the giant flange of the plastic here, so just shaved her down all the way down to the actual spin bit. I mean, still doesn't come out, still functions just fine. Website recommends the large friction pad. You've got quite a bit of material. I'll get this temporarily put on there and then I'll show you what we're talking about. But essentially, when you push this and it's moving that pad and the little stopper and the friction pad out, it should be resting on this here. So we'll get that done, be back. Alright, sorry for the wobbly camera work here. So when you actuate your thumb, it's pushing your stopper and your friction pad, and ideally it should be up against that housing there. So once you get that little flange ground down, you either have two arms, a large and a small, that will clamp onto the tube itself, and then you're using friction against the throttle body housing here, or the throttle cable housing. When you actuate this thumb lever, there's a side piece, and I'll spin you around so you can see what's happening. All right, now behind the throttle stop, I've got the flashlight on, you can see a couple plastic sort of spacers. I have the large, and I also put the small on top of it, and this has been on for over 30,000 miles. I don't expect it to go anywhere, but you can see when I actuate this, that little paddle pushes out. And it's pushing out against the throttle cable housing here. So you can see it activating right there. And I just wanted just a little bit more pressure than just the large pad offered. So I stacked a small on top of the large. And then it clicks right into place, holds on there, your throttle's active. Now you can sort of fight that pressure and you can increase throttle or decrease while that's pushed. And then if you come over to the thumb area, you just push down, it unlocks, it's like a ratchet, and you're released. So the biggest bonus with this is it's super thin, very small design. I can always pull this off, put it on another motorcycle with very minimal modification, and you're on the road. It's also, I like the friction style that it has on there because you can easily overcome it if you want, but yet it stays in place going down the road. Even the big vibrating, single thumper, which he had as well. The old Paint Shaker 640 was a KTM that was known for its vibration. So it'll stay on the road. However, if an emergency comes up and you need to pull that throttle down, you're not actually physically locked into a position. You can overcome that fairly easy. If you're coming up to a hill, just add a little bit more and it'll stay right in place. So a pretty slick design. So a couple things that I've run into, not necessarily negatives because you might not have the same setup as I have, but I've had to clock my heated grips up higher than I wanted to so that I have room for this down here. And I've had to do that on the other side for my headlight controls anyway, so it wasn't perfect. But it is clocked up pretty high, but it's out of the way. So I am using this with heated grips, as I mentioned. These are the Oxford Adventure ones, if you want to know. And if I'm running without gloves, these small little rivets that are keeping this metal casing together have worn kind of on the top of my thumb a little bit. I just happen to choke up pretty far on here closer to the throttle control. So if I'm riding around without gloves, which isn't that often, I can just feel those on there. And they're not sharp, but you definitely notice them after a couple thousand miles on the bike. So that's something to think about. If you're known for choking up, then you definitely want to wear gloves with these guys here. So guys, in conclusion, I really like it. I like the all metal construction. I like the fact that I can put it on another bike down the road if I decide to get one. It has worked flawlessly. There's even a couple times where, you know, even if you want to rest from just the grip, you know, there's some grip paddles on there. Just rest your thumb on here and you can spin your whole throttle control with just this button on here. And I've done that a number of times just to give your hand a break from cramping it, not even activating it, just using the fact that it's here and using my thumb to move the throttle instead of the grip. So I have absolutely loved it. Like I said, used it over 30,000 miles easily. I think it's going to last well over the life of the bike with all metal construction. Hands down, it's the top pick winner for throttle stops, in my opinion, for adventure motorcycling. This has been Beast. We're featuring the Atlas throttle lock. Go check them out. Links below. Catch you guys down the road.